You want me to switch classes mid-semester? Fine. In every university in my country, and probably most other countries, there are mandatory subjects everyone has to take regardless of their major. My friends and I are mass communication majors, for reference. About 2 weeks before the semester started, we registered for classes and were allowed to choose which faculty section of the mandatory subject we wanted. Since the syllabus was identical across faculties, we picked the management faculty's Monday 6 to 8 p.m. class instead of the mass comm faculty's Friday 8 to 10 a.m. class because it fit our schedules better. I work part-time on weekends and whenever else I can squeeze any shifts in, so the Friday morning slot was rough since I had a 2-hour travel time to head back home before work. And this wasn't my first rodeo either. I've been in mandatory classes that were in a different faculty section 2 or 3 times over the past 2 years that I've been in university, with no issues. Then, in week 4 of the semester, our lecturer, Mrs. N, suddenly emailed my friends and I saying she just found out that we supposedly weren't allowed to be in her class and had to switch back to our own faculty's section. Confused, we went on a full wild goose chase between 2 different departments. First, the division handling mandatory subjects, then the mass comm faculty admin. When we finally met the admin officer, she was super rude and condescending. She even called us selfish, kept interrupting us, refused to explain anything properly, and just kept repeating, you can't, you just can't. When we asked her anything, she'd also ask us questions like, why would you choose another faculty's class? But every time I tried to answer, she'd cut me off mid-sentence. At that point, I realized what she was doing. She was just to wear us down until we gave up. Honestly speaking, if she had been polite, I probably would have relented. But she was so unnecessarily rude that I dug my heels in out of pure spite. Eventually, I cut in and calmly said, ma'am, you've asked us several questions without letting us answer, and you haven't answered ours either. We're willing to comply, but we'd like to understand why we're being asked to switch classes in week 4, and whether there's another option since this schedule accommodates us better. That actually made her stop cutting me off. When she regained composure, she snapped, it messes up the end of semester report. You students should manage your schedules better. And I replied, I thought university was supposed to accommodate students from different circumstances. I work part-time, for example. She huffed, and switched to this fake sweet tone and said, fine. Email your lecturer and see if she agrees to let you stay. But if she says no, you come back here, drop the class, and register for your own faculty's section. Okay? Okay. I just smiled, held back how pissed I was with how she was treating me and my friends, and said, okay, thank you, and we all left. So we emailed the lecturer and ceased the admin. Mrs. N replied saying she had no issue with us staying in the class. The admin, despite literally saying she'd allow it if the lecturer agreed, suddenly responded with a long explanation about why we still shouldn't stay. That's when I pulled my final move. I contacted the lecturer teaching the mass comm section, M''S.Z. M''S.Z. And I are close. I helped her a lot over the past 2 semesters since I met her during the middle of my first year, and she's always been really supportive of me. I messaged her personally to let her know I might be joining her Friday class, and she was immediately confused because she thought I was staying in the management class section. So I explained everything to her, and she was absolutely appalled, and told me that apparently the system auto-collects grades across all divisions regardless of the students' majors, so it doesn't affect the report in any way. The admin was basically lying, and apparently the only reason why she wanted me and my friends to switch classes was due to a few students from M''S.Z.'s class who requested to switch to Mrs. N's class because M''S.Z.'s class was too early for them, but they requested after the 3rd week, which wasn't allowed anyway. Then she told me that as the lecturer, she had to approve any new students registering for her class, and because of what happened and how it happened, she promised that she wouldn't approve my transfer. No approval, no class switch. To make it even better, she doubled down and personally told the admin that she didn't want additional students in her class and to let us stay in our current class since it was reaching the 5th week and nearing the deadline for our first assignment, so we had a very valid reason to stay. Sucks to suck, admin.